So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm really excited to see such a large group joining us today for this session. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. This education session is being hosted by the Justice Coalition of Religious, or JCOR. We're a coalition of 22 organizations of Catholic women and men religious, representing more than 200 congregations worldwide. And we advocate at the United Nations for justice for people living in poverty and for stewardship for the natural environment. We strive to strengthen the capacity of our members to address the root causes of unsustainable development and to promote a just, equitable, and rights-based implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. Over the past few years, a number of our members of JCOR have focused some of their advocacy efforts on Haiti. And to support the initiatives and the work of this group and expand the understanding of our wider community and its ability to engage in these advocacy efforts, we're hosting this session today, where we are inviting all of you to learn with us. We will first hear from our guest speaker, Nixon Boumba, followed by an opportunity for Q&A, and then we'll wrap up today's session with a few words from Anne-Marie, a JCOR member that's currently engaged in advocacy efforts pertaining to Haiti, and she will share a little bit more information about past and present advocacy initiatives in this area. So without any further ado, I would love to introduce our guest speaker, Nixon Boumba. Boumba is a social justice activist who has been working to catalyze change in Haiti for the past 2 decades. He holds a bachelor's in sociology and is working toward a master's in history at the State University in Haiti. For the last 6 years, he has worked as the Haiti country consultant for the American Jewish World Service. And in 2017, he was a senior human rights fellow at the Shell Center for Human Rights at Yale Law School. His work and organizing has addressed topics ranging from access to basic services, women and feminist movements, land rights and reform, mining justice, anti-corruption, and the LGBTI movement. So at this point, I will hand it over to Nixon Boumba. We're excited to learn with you more about the history of Haiti and how that affects Haiti in the present. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, everyone. And good morning to everyone. Good afternoon and good evening. And from Cap Haitian, where I am right now, I send a very good energy from Haitian freedom and Haitian resistance people. And I'm so happy. I feel very honored to be invited to share some information about what I experiencing in Haiti and what I learned from Haitian history and what my life as a Haitian citizen. And I don't have it to teach you anything, but I will share some information and open the floor for conversation. And then after this opportunity today, I will be free. If you want to have more conversation, please reach out to me and we can continue this conversation because it's very important. It's raw, very raw. We find a coalition of organizations interesting to understand the root cause of Haitian situation. You know, so many people they are advocating on behalf of Haitian people, on behalf of Haiti, without any acknowledgement of the root cause of situation where we are. And what we're trying to say and to do the best of myself to share with you is to make you understand, you know, the narrative around Haiti. The main narrative around Haiti is like a defeat country, is like the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, the most unstable country and the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere, and also as well the most deforested country. And this narrative creates Haitian people in Haiti as a precarious people who need to have charity, you know, without any consideration for ourselves as a human being, and as well our story, our history, and our daily life in this country. And to present that's what I want to share with you. First, I will just as a recap. I know you're familiar with the history of the Western Hemisphere and the Caribbean and Americas. And ourselves as Asian people, you know, we got this in Creole, in French, malediction, we got the unlucky opportunity to meet with the Western people, white European people, and 90, 92, 92 when the first time Christopher Columbus arrived to Americas. And from this meeting with the European people, what our ancestors from the Taino, African descent, we are experiencing genocide, we are experiencing ecocide, we are experiencing extractive economy, and as well racism. When Christopher Columbus arrived in 1992, Haiti was the first point, the entry point for the European to get to Americas. The first time in December 5, 1992, they arrived in the northwest of the Haiti, and from there they started to conquer the west of America. Haiti is the first country where the European, the conquistador, they were defeated by Haitian African revolutionary, and it was in 1803, but it was before, because it's after a long period of war, 13 years of war, revolutionary war. And when Christopher Columbus arrived to this island, more than 2 million Taínos people lived on this island. After 15 years, more than 1 million, it's say only 6,000 of people, Taino people, because all the people were decimated by European people throughout two main ways. The first one is slavery and mining exploitation. And there's another way, another line was the Taínos people, they resisted against the invasion of the European. And there's a big lie on this meeting. In the traditional historiography, you can hear that Haiti was discovered, America was discovered by Christopher Columbus. But it wasn't discovering meeting, it was an invasion. This invasion quickly moved to genocide, decimation of people, and at the time they realized they need more labor force to continue to do the work for them, and they turned to Africa to kidnap Black people from different countries in Africa for this island and some part of in the Caribbean. Most of the African people from the Western Africa, like Benin, Nigeria, Ghana, and the Central Africa, like Congo, DRC, Togo, Burundi, those people was kidnapped from Africa and imposed to live in America, and particularly in Haiti, what we are calling today Haiti. First, demystification we need to do. There is no discovering process, made by the European people. It was an invasion. What was motivated this invasion? Premium materials, minerals, and also an extractive labor force, and to develop what we call today the developed continents, the developed countries. This is where the history of ourselves as Haitian, as African, started in America. Haiti was colonized first by Spanish conquistadors and then French. As you know, we share the land with Dominican Republic today. It was one land, one island. But this island was divided by France and Spain after a long period of war, and to divide the country the island on two parts, one part to two-thirds for Dominican Republic today, and one-third for Haiti today. We were living in the same country, and you can understand how nowadays the challenge or the complex relationship between Haiti and Dominican Republic, it was a legacy from colonialism, colonial period. It is not Haitian and Dominican people who decided to divide the land, but the land was divided by European people, by the colons. The history of Haiti, our history is an history of resistance, an history of revolutionary movement, for mainly first to get ourselves free and be able to get back to Africa, to continue our lives in Africa. This is why today, when the Haitian people pass away, they said their soul is getting back to Guinea. Guinea, it is not the Guinea-Conakry, it is not the Guinea-Bissau. It's the whole kingdom of Guinea from the western until the Central Africa. And this is part of Haitian ancestral spirituality. We don't say we are pass away, you are die, but you cross the ocean. You're crossing the ocean from Haiti to Africa. Africa is what the Christian people, they are describing as the paradise for themselves. But for Haitian people and the Vodou and Haitian people, we believe we are going back to Africa because we were dreaming, and we are dreaming to get back to Africa since the beginning. We resisted for not being kidnapped. We resisted to get back to Africa. Once we realized we can't go back to Africa, we need to organize the resistance to get our lives free. This is where the credo of Haitian revolution formed, freedom or die. We want to combat the conquistador until we dead, or we get our full freedom. The history of Haiti, to sum up, this is this history of extractive economy, slavery, colonialism, and as well racism, and now it's very complex situation with the imperialistic government from the Western Hemisphere. Haiti, we spent more than 300 years in the slavery, and people were kidnapping from different places. This is what I just said, and we from different tribes and from different tribes in different areas. From Africa, there were a lot of conflict between tribes, within the tribes in Africa. When they kidnap people from Africa to impose them to live in slavery in Americas, they're trying to keep people from the same areas far from one each other. This is a way to prevent that people can continue to communicate and to discuss, to express the ways of life in the painful situation they are living. Haitian African people, we fought for getting freedom. And some of those people refused to walk from the plantation. They took the mountain and stay on the upper mountains and to organize the resistance movement. This is what we call in Haitian historiography and Latin America historiography, the Maonage. The Maonage is a way to get you free from the plantation and organize your life on the mountain and try to attack the plantation, and to get your freedom. This is the Maonage. And I can just brief recapitulation for yourself, for you. It's the social structure of the colonial society was like divided in three main classes. The colon, the French colon, the affranchi. The affranchi is the intermediary class between slave, and we can get your liberty, your freedom, and buying your freedom, or you can be free if you're born from a slave, slave woman, and a white colon from France. As you know, the Haitian colonization was dominated by the male white European people. And those people that didn't come to the colony with their family, the wife, but they used the body of the woman, this woman slave, as a way to satisfy their sexual needs at the time. But some kids were born under this kind of whip from the white men to the slave black women. Some of them, they were born free. That's created the first subcategory of affranchis, of people who get the freedom from this kind of relationship. There is another subcategory. This subcategory was people who can, if you walk domestically to the house of the master, you can have some money to buy your freedom. This is the second category to create this intermediary class. And the third one was criminal and very bad people from France who get punished and imprisoned in France. And they sent people to work in the colony for 3 years. After 3 years of punishment, being working as a slave in the colony, and you can get your freedom. This is the third subcategory of the intermediary class that we call here the affranchis. And the third class was made by the slave, what we're calling slave. In our critical historiography, we are not calling them slave, we are calling them the captive, because they refuse to be in slavery. They fought for get freedom, and we call them the captive. But all those captive, from the first class, the upper class, made by the colon, white men, and they have everything. They have 2/3 of land, took 3/4 of slave, because the main of production at that time was slave and land. But they were not able to enjoy the civil and political rights because they are working in the colony. There's people, they have some contradiction between the French metropolitan government, and they fought forget civil and political rights from French. The second category, even they have 1/3 of land and 1/4 of slave, because they were born from black slave women, and they got the freedom after punishment, or they buy the freedom. They were considered as inferior to the upper class. They were not able to represent it in decision-making process in the colonies. They have their own contradiction to get equality with the upper class, and also being represented in the metropolitan discussion about the colony. But the only class will get trimmed to change. Radical change was what the traditionally conventional historiography call the slavery, the captive. This is where the revolution started. The captive used different means to be revolt. The first one, I don't know if you heard about Wakaima, and you're from faith-based organization. This is a very complex issue, very complicated situation in Haiti we are facing, because the faith, the Christian, some Christian, not all, unfortunately, not the Catholic Church, mostly from evangelical sector who invaded the country, in 19th century. They said why Haiti is so poor today because we have an agreement with the devil. What they're calling the devil, from the Marronage, that I've just described it, where people leave the plantation to get the mountain and to walk and to build their lives freely. There is this kind of connection between different tribes from Africa and to try to understand the life and to express the life. There's two means they created. It was an invasion from the slavery situation. It was invented language, what we call in Haiti now Creole, Haitian Creole. The Haitian Creole was created by African people to be communicate between themselves because they spoke different languages from Africa, but they create their own languages. Given the creation of these languages, they were able to express, to create symbol, expression like art and culture, dance, poetry, music, and song to express their situation and the colonial situation. And this is what they call now the Haitian voodoo. The Haitian voodoo, it is not the ancestral practice we will find in Benin, complete in Benin or Nigeria. And this is a composite from different tribes. And in the Haitian voodoos, we are talking a lot about 100 tradition, and more smaller, we are talking about 21 nation. 21 nation is 21 tribes. We create what we are calling now the Haitian spirituality. After creating language, after creating this culture, anthropological culture and spirituality, and they invited for a big meeting. And this meeting took place in the north of Haiti, in Bois-Caïman, where resistant people, resistant leaders from across the colony, and to come to the north and to discuss about their situation in the colony, and took the decision to fight for freedom. At that time, this movement was led by Boukman, who was a Ougan, but is very strong radical revolutionary. And this is what we're calling here the Congrès of Bois-Caïman. The Congrès of Bois-Caïman, it's a political meeting and surrounded by voodoo ceremonies, surrounded by parties, and those people decided to fight for their freedom. 1 week after, it was on August 13, in the night of August 13 to August 14. 1 week after, and August 21st to August 22nd, this is the first revolt of slaves from the north of Haiti, where they burned the plantation, they attacked the masters, and thus this revolt was repressed and was heavily repressed by the colonial army. It was a big crisis throughout this revolutionary movement, and they had to expect until 1913, 1790-13 to see the emergence of the new leader, who was Toussaint Louverture. I don't know if you heard about Toussaint Louverture. It's very well known, more than Dessalines and other radical leaders. Toussaint Louverture. And Toussaint Louverture at that time, under the leadership of Toussaint Louverture, this is a very complex context where the masters, they were fighting, they were fighting very, very hardly with the French colonies, for colony representative, because the colony was led by commission, administrative commission from France. But this master wanted at the time they can govern, they can lead the colony by themselves without any commission from outside of the colony. It was a big battle between French themselves. At the same point, it was a big battle between Affranchis against French commission, but also against, the masters and the colony too. And French sent a civil commission to try to resolve the conflict. And the civil commission has to face the opposition and hostility from the French people. And they had to rescue the slave people to help them to fight against French people themselves. It was internal battle between French representative and French colons living in the colony. And they call enslaved people to fight for themselves, to celebrate, to create this army and fought for the French representative against the French people living in the colony. This is where, for example, you can see people living in Louisiana, they are speaking French and Creole. Most of those colons fled the colony and to install themselves in the U.S., in different places in the U.S., mostly in Louisiana and Maine, where they were at the time French were at the control of this area, this territory, and the U.S. And Toussaint Louverture led this battle on that condition. The first condition, you need to give freedom for all people, no slavery in the colony, no slavery. But Toussaint Louverture asked to the French to give them the opportunity to let the colony for France, not for independence. But he will continue to lead the colony, to keep the colony in place, but this colony will be led by Toussaint Louverture, not by French commission, not by French administrative people, and also keep this colonial structure in place. But French refused that. Toussaint Louverture has rescued to the Spanish people and to propose the same deal to Spanish people, but they refused. The British people, they refused until French arrested Toussaint Louverture. He died in French prison. And after this long season of crisis within this revolutionary movement, emerged Dessalines, who is the general who used to serve as the Toussaint Louverture army, and Dessalines trying to have an agreement within all the general, all the commander, and to have a united commandment for the army. And from Dessalines' leadership, they decide, now we don't want colony in our country, we don't want slavery, and we decide every people who want to live free, will join the army and will fight for our liberty. This is where the slogan is coming: living free or dying. I don't know if you can take the measure of this slogan. We need to fight all for our freedom. If we need to continue to live, we need to live freely, not under slavery and under colonialism. This is where the revolution movement formed until November 18, next week. The last battle was happened in the north part of Haiti, and Cap Haitian, where Haitian army won the battle, and different decide we give up because you won the battle. The last battle was in the north of Haiti. But this is the trajectory of the revolutionary movement. We don't have enough time to detail everything, and we can have conversation. And I'm here, I'm free to have a conversation with you after. But I don't know if you have some question about this this chapter before jumping to the Haitian after the independence. It is very important to understand today the legacy of colonialism, the social colonial structure, the racism, and the slavery behavior will mark the Haitian after the independence. I don't know if you have some question to before jumping to the next chapter. I will move my computer because I need to have some charge. Okay, but I'm here. Thank you.
So if anyone wants to, please raise your hand or indicate that you have a question, or you can drop one in the chat box if you want clarification or additional information before we move on to talk about the impacts of colonialism in the country today.
If something was not clear, I'm here. Please. Yeah.
I think we're all eagerly anticipating how this plays into the narrative today. So if you want, go ahead. And if I see any questions pop up in the chat box, I'll be sure to hold on to them and we can come back to them afterwards.
Great. Yeah. There's a question. Why do you speak of voodoo as Haitian spirituality? You know, and you know, because voodoo was created, or was an invention of African people living in the slavery condition to express the life using their ancestral tribe spirituality. But the voodoo the voodoo we have in the country right now, we will not find this voodoo anywhere in Africa, and the way it exists in Haiti. This is our spirituality, the way we are dreaming. In front of a voodoo, unfortunately, was French Catholic spirituality. This is something we will talk about a little bit about during this conversation. And every single Haitian people, even we can claim ourselves as Catholics, evangelical, but we are anthropologically voodoo practicing. Voodoo, it is not a religion. Voodoo, it is a way of life. When Haitian people, when I was born, my mom and my fathers, they keep my umbilical cord and to put it in the earth and plant trees on behalf of myself. It is not something we find another spirituality in Haiti. I don't know if you can give me some example. But voodoo is a ways of life. It is the way that we interpreted life, the history, but the relationship between life and death, and our mission on our land. This is our relationship between our environments, land, water, trees, and what we don't see. We are not calling that a god or Muhammad, but we are calling that what we don't see. What we don't see is of spirits who inhabits, trees, water, and other what we are calling in French, quotidien vivant, every being, animals living in our nature. That create this connection between ourselves as a human being to the rest of our ecosystem. There is another question. Okay.
Can I ask one? Just the expression you use, it represents the way we are dreaming. Can you say what that means a little more?
Yeah, way we are dreaming, we are here for a short term and we will get back where we're from.
Okay. Thanks.
Where we're from is to the land, to the environment, but where we're from is Africa. Even it is not something we can understand rationally, but Africa, the mother Earth, Africa, the Guinea, it's where we will be in peace, you know. And when you are there, someone is there, pass away in Haiti, they organize a process, you know, to accompany, you know, this travel from Haiti into the Mother Earth. May I okay, there's another question. Teresa, please go ahead.
Thanks. I wanted to ask about kind of the I guess I'll say principles or tenets of the revolutionary movement. I wanted to know, you said very clearly that one of the central ideas behind the movement was a desire for self-determination and for the elimination of captivity, of slavery. Were there other kind of big principles or ideas that were also part of that revolutionary movement that brought people together?
You know, when people, just imagine people living in slavery, you know, the main dream is to get freedom, and then determine what you want for your life, for your family, for your own. The second principle was equality. From Wakaima, the main point was everyone should be considered as a human being. No one would be more important than another one. This equality, if there is something for one people, they should have for two, for three, for all people. You know, it's a way to think about the redistribution of wealth, of what we need to live as a human being. But the third principle was there's no privilege for one people if there is another one who doesn't have access to what he needs to live as a human being. But the main, to resume in Haitian revolution is self-determination, freedom, self-determination, equality, and this ontological value to consider everyone, not legally, not formally, concretely, every human being is a human being. No one could be more important than another one. This is from the message that the Jesus Christ, from all his struggle he led, and to have this society of justice, of equality, non-exclusivity, non-exclusion, and to consider people as a human being. That's the main point from the Haitian Revolution. This is why now, after the independence, just to move quicker to the independence, to Haiti after the independence, the main question was people who made the revolutionary, they were slaves. They were slaves. The vast majority of those people came just to the colony. They don't have any relationship, any knowledge of the colony. They were fighting for get back to Africa. Now they need to live in the country. And there is another message circulated by the revolutionary movement. Why French want to fight for maintain the colony? Because Haiti was the wealthiest colony for French, for the world, across the world. Haiti at that time produced more than three thirds of sugar that the world need to consume. And one French historian said, France is a powerful empire because France is an empire of colony, a colonial empire, But France is a powerful colonial empire because France has had Haiti. Well, at that time, it was Saint-Domingue. Haiti, all French economy, port, infrastructure, mostly the port was building during Haiti commerce with French people. And the Haitian Revolution realized what interests French and this territory is the riches, the wealth. And they decide we will, if you need the riches, we'll destroy everything and we'll combat you on the, on this land. This is what's happened. After the independence, nothing in this territory except the land. The land will be the first question to respond for the new leader of independent country. Who has the land? Who is the owner of the land? As I said before, the colonial society was divided in three main classes. The white master, French people, they had 3/3 of the land and 2/4 of the slave. And those people no more exist on this territory because they were killed during the revolutionary movement or they fled to the US and other part of other colony in the Caribbean. The second class was the affranchis. I gave some description about what we call affranchis, but they had 1/3 of land and 1/4 of slave. A piece is missing after the independence. There is no slave. But the vast majority of people was formerly slave. They just came from Africa, but they don't have land. This is the first question the leader had to address at the time. But the second intermediary class said this land belonged to them because they were born from white master and slave women, but they were claiming the legacy of their parents. Some of them said, we bought this land from the former masters, and now the land is for ourselves. The question is, how we will distribute the land after the independence? This is the question. This is the political, social, and economical question number one of Haiti until today. Who has the land? This is this question that Dessalines trying to respond and saying, if you said the land belonged to your parents, and those people, their family are in Africa, or how they will live without land, because the land is the main resources we have. This is the first question. He decided to nationalize of the land and trying to verify the title of the land. And now they said the intention was to redistribute the land. If you have title, you could prove your title, you will get your land. But if you're trying to capture the state land, they will take the land and to redistribute it to people to live in this country. This is where from the assassination of Dessalines in October 17, 1806. The second main question we pose to the new leaders: what kind of society we want to build? What kind of society we want to build? Two main responses came out. First, from the elite. The elite at that time, it was people get the power, but also economical dominate by what we call the mulattoes. The mulattoes, the Métis people, and it said exist in the country, and they were educated from French, and they dreamed to build the French model society. and the Caribbean. And they describe the society as a Catholic society, as a society where people had to speak French, you know, with a Creole. The Creole was prohibited. The official language was French. And also to have monogamic family by marriage, you know, and also cultivate monoculture and to send to sell to the international market. And full of this orientation, but the mass of former formerly enslaved people, they dream to have a society with voodoo as the religion, their spirituality, Creole as the language, having fully paternal partnership, and we can discuss about that more during this conversation, because I think that should be a question that you want to understand. And they're trying to cultivate the mountain and to build the subsistence economy, you know, and to provide food for the families where they're producing for the external market. And this is where the border from the beginning started. This is why Haiti is so unstable, because there's no, you know, shared agreements and between both oriented, both projects, and there's this struggle from the beginning. And I don't know if you heard about that as well. And from 1806 to 1822, Haiti was divided in two countries, the Kingdom of the North and the Republic of the South, because of this instability. The instability from Haiti is this resistance Haitian mass, the most marginalized people, had and has to fight to resist against the Haitian elites. But the Haitian elites is accountable to external actors like French, the former colonizer, until during one century, after the beginning of 20th century, it was US until today. We need to resist. And the economy of the country was profoundly marked by what we are calling today the ransom. You know, from 1804 to 1825, the elite people show the interest to deal with other elite around the world, and they put pressure on the government, particularly from Pétion and the South Republic, and to initiate some contact with French and to be recognized by French. And this is where French imposed the ransom. And the ransom will be paid during 1 century. 1 century. And that prevent the Haitian society to invest in social infrastructure, what we can define today as an indicator for a poorest country: no access to school, no access to healthcare, no access to basic needs. All the money that the country has at the time, when 1 century, went to pay for the ransom. And to pay the ransom, Haiti had a loan from French bank, US bank, and British bank. Just imagine the weight you have to put every year and to pay for the debt. This is where Haiti poverty. We are not calling Haiti the poorest country. Haiti is the most impoverished country in the West Hemisphere, mainly by the colonial legacy, but and particularly by the ransom. And to pay the ransom, the Haitian leaders, the Haitian government, during 1 century, has to reorganize the economy of the country and to be able to pay this ransom. And now it is clear. I don't know if you read this article, this series of that made by New York Times to show, how big is the scandal for a small country like Haiti. And to understand the poverty of Haiti and to understand the instability of Haiti, you need to go to the roots of that. Firstly, from the colonial, secondly, from Haiti after the independence. The means of an shared agreement to move forward together as a human being, as a community of human beings, with our story, with our history, with our dream. Understand the two main orientation. The first one is we want a replication of French colonization society. And the second one, we want a society made by our dream, by our ancestral belief, by our ancestral dream. And from the beginning, this battle for one of two orientation to win. This is why it is impossible to organize the election in the country. This is where from the main characteristic of authoritarianism in Haiti, because this government represents the interests of the elites and the international interests, doesn't represent the vast majority of Haitian people. And to lead the country, they need to have rescue to parallel army, repress, militias, and this is where the authoritarianism formed. And during 1 century, the country was led in the way I just described. When US came to the Americas, to the Central America, Caribbean, and Latin America, and to occupy every single country, one after one, and to impose their own interests in the country. And US occupied the country for 19 years, trying to reframe the country on their own models. The resistance movement came up again, fights against US, and US create their own state, build their own army, own institution to control Haitian people. The failure of Haiti today, it is not the failure of dreaming country of African people. It is the legacy, first the legacy of the colonialism, and also the failure of the society made by the US. Their own army, their own government, their own law, they changed the constitution until now despite the opposition, we had the first democratic election in the country with massive participation from people in 1990. And the result was a coup d'etat, very criminal coup d'etat, with more than 5,000 people died, more than 30,000 people left the country because of political persecution, repression in the country. And the US took the decision to get the Aristide to the power under an agreement, the neoliberal package. And what was the aims of the neoliberal package? And to get more market for US products. And they destroyed, for example, the production of rice of Haiti. Haiti has capacity to produce, enough rights for giving us to all Haitian people today, from Artibonite to the south to the northeast. They could produce everything. But the West, with the neoliberal package, they destroy everything. From the back of democracy in Haiti, and we are from 1994, we have three main occupations of the country. First one from 1994 to 2001. First US, Canada, and French, and then UN occupation. And the second from 2004 to 2017. And now they are advocating to a third occupation and a very small period of time from 1994 to today, less than 30 years. And what we can understand about, the incapacity of the international communities, the imperialist government, and Haitian elite to govern the country is because of the resistance movement from the beginning. And the only way they have to advocate for democracy, and democracy sell at the point of the weapons. Without weapons, no democracy in the country. If democracy is a way to give possibility to people to enjoy their rights and also their duty, why we need it all the time, international army in our territory to organize election? Are you organizing election for yourself, or organizing election, or Haitian people organize election? From my childhood, what I was observing, election was a way for Haitian people to give, to approve or to reject. And I was child when I was first elected in Haiti. And I've seen in my neighborhoods, office for vote, everywhere. And people went out to vote because they thought at the time this is a way for them to change the nature of the state. And from 1990, the first democratic election in the country, I've seen dramatic changes to the way to organize election in the country. They've concentrated election, from very far from people. If you want to vote, you need to walk more than 2 hours to have access to your office of vote. We don't have any interest to walk 2 hours to go to vote. To vote for what? For what and for whom? When we know the state doesn't care about what we need. Today, Haiti is a clear example of a country where we don't need state. Unfortunately, they have to say that because there is no judiciary system and function in Haiti, no executive branches and function in Haiti, no parliament and function in Haiti. I don't know if you know any other country where you can live more than 3 years without president, without parliament, without judiciary system. We don't have army in the country. We have a police, but the police is part of the criminality, and the police is under control of international actors, not Haitian actors. I'm saying that just to let you understand what we are living today. It is not the gangsterization. It is the parallel army to keep the status quo in place in Haiti. The gangs issue, they're trying to control small territory, fight one against the other. What we have a control of territory. This army, this phenomenon in Haiti is very well known. We know, and just to see the report of the UN Commission and Sanction Commission of Sanction, we knew that before the commission launch the reports. We know who are beyond of the criminality industry in the country. We know when you are kidnapped again, for us, you know where you are, you know, in the hand of whom you are. Everything is very well known. Everything is very well known. And we know it's part of it. This mechanism to control of resistance movement from the from marginalized neighborhood in Port-au-Prince. This criminalization is part of the system, not an exception. Because before they had the army, the police to repress, and now there is no army, no police, and everything is happening now right after a historical movement against corruption in the country started in 2017.
Boumba, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but I want to be very mindful of time right now. We've got a little less than 10 minutes, and I've seen a couple more questions pop up in the chat box.
Okay.
There's one in particular that I think is on a lot of our minds right now, and that our own J-Corps working group has been thinking more about too. There's a question from Mary that's asking, what do you think about the current UN resolution of the Security Council to have Kenyan security forces sent to Haiti to quote unquote, keep the peace? And if maybe you can expand upon that as well to talk about what do you see as a way forward and how can civil society contribute via our advocacy to a way forward for the people of Haiti?
Yeah, thank you so much. You know, and I think they use the blackface to fight against blackface after the failure, the recent failure from 1994 to 2017. They don't have any solution to continue to, you know, to lead the industry of repression in the country, and they use the Kenyan people not in solidarity. This is what the Kenyan people doesn't understand. We need the solidarity of Black people, of people, community of justice across the world. But Kenyan was subcontracted by the US and by the UN to do what we in French we can say the sale boulot, the dirty job. You know, if they want really have a solution to Haitian situation right now, what is the main demand of Haitian people? To live in security in the country. We know every single Haitian people, we know the weapons from the US, Dominican Republic, and Jamaica. Jamaica, US, Dominican Republic, we part of OIS as a regional organization, and we pass to the UN if we want to support Haiti, or we can cut, the chain of procurement of weapons and ammunition in the country. The second, they know if they want to support Haitian to resolve the security situation, they know who in Haiti getting involved. Now they are talking a lot about sanctions, but we don't know how far the sanction will go. The sanction could be a tool for people who advocate for Haiti for other worlds. I think it is not a phenomenon we are facing in Haiti. I've been to Mexico, to Chiapas, people living the same situation. And all the Caribbean people, we are under the fear of weapons from the US. The control of weapons, that should be part of, the puzzle if we want to address the Haitian security situation. The second one, they can support a real deep transformation of judicial system in Haiti, who part of the insecurity too. And supporting and trying to do the vetting within the police, because the main source of weapon is from the police itself. And people who control the insecurity in this industry in Haiti, they have the house, the business, the family in the US, not in Canada. This is why you can see Canada issued more sanctions than US, because most of them, they are binational people, US-Haiti situation. In Haiti, we don't believe that the Kenyan people will do anything to improve the situation in Haiti, because the Kenyan people, they don't know anything about Haiti. They never been in Haiti. That we never have any diplomatic relations with the Kenyan. They don't speak Creole. They don't understand the complexity of the situation. It is not the gang issue. There's very well-trained people having heavy weapons in themselves, controlling the territory, and they continue to have access to what they need to create problem in the country. I don't know, it's sending troops in Haiti toward Kenyan or any other country or other people should contribute to resolve the Haitian situation for today.
And I see Anne Marie has her hand raised. She has a question as well.
Yeah, thank you, Boumba. There are so many difficulties in the equation here. And the arms flow from the United States, very true, and that has to get under control. But I guess my question is, how do you answer the violence of the gangs against the people, and what is the solution there? Because the people that we hear from are being killed, they're being raped, they're being kidnapped. Everything is happening, and supplies cannot get to them. They cannot get out the door. They cannot get to healthcare. They cannot get to school. So many people have died, and they are desperate. We hear from people, they are desperate for someone to come and help. And there have to be a lot of parameters to that too, especially human rights concerns for anyone that comes in there. But I mean, how do you address that issue about lives being lost?
Yeah, thank you. This is a very good question. And first, we need people, if you want to advocate, to the US and international community to stop the bad. The bad is from after the earthquake, organized election in a very inappropriate time, and to put people they want in the power with lack of legitimacy. And the only way to govern the country is to have rescue to criminal people. The second, just realize what was the impact and the result of the previous troop in Haiti. You know, Haitian people, as myself, ordinary people, we don't believe that we contribute to resolve our situation. This is where, I don't know if you heard about the Boakale situation in Haiti, was community, neighborhoods, people come together and to defend their own neighborhoods. And within the report of UN, they said more than 450 gang member or presumed gang member was killed by this movement. From April 24 to September, it was like almost zero kidnapping in Port-au-Prince City, you know, because of this self-defense movement. I don't think it is the ideal situation, but it is Haitian people know right now it's belong to ourselves to take our destiny in our hands. And if we need to help and support Haitian people, I'm not talking about yourself, I'm talking about the international community, UN, OIS, US, Canada. They need to stop the bad. They are supporting right now a government who are part of this ecosystem of criminality. They are supporting illegitimate people. They put someone in the power by a tweet, not with any respect for democratic and rule of law, you know, criteria. And we know that. We never seen the past 5 years any people from the government attacked by gang members. We never seen, you know, any official office was attacked by the gang member. The gang member is on the payroll of the government and also protected by government officials. And everything was said in the report of UN. just to take a look of the report of UN, you can understand where we can start to address the Haitian situation, particularly the security situation in Haiti.
Thank you so much, Boumba, and thank you for this really, really rich contextual history and reflections on the state of Haiti today. I see we have one more hand raised, so I think we have time just to squeeze in one more question, and then after that, I'd love to hand it over to Anne-Marie to talk just a little bit about briefly what our working group on Haiti has been doing here. And Boumba, I noticed that you said at the beginning of the conversation you would be happy to continue on in contact with anyone afterwards. So if you are open to it, I invite you to share your contact information in the chat group. So if anyone has any additional questions, they can follow up with you there.
Great.
And I don't see a hand anymore. So are there any more questions before I hand it over to Anne-Marie?
Yes, I just want to say something. I don't know if you hear me.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my name is Adenal Flay. Sorry, I'm late. I was late in the meeting. I was at school. Anna-Marie invited me to take part of the meeting. So I was listening. Nixon Boumba, he says a lot of true. But the only thing I can say about the question of the Okono, for example, last year I was in Haiti. I spent 6 years in Haiti. I entered in the earthquake of the gangs in Vidalom and how his name, Barbecue, because Frederick and I were working together. We went and this place to know about those people. Even when we have the fighting between two groups, Barbecue and Bele, they are fighting. We can see the situation. As Boumba said, the gangs, the violence of gangs in Haiti is supporting first by the elite economic people to get their own benefits. The second benefit who's benefiting in the violence of gangs is the government. They create the insecurity in Haiti just to stay in the power. How you can imagine the prime minister is part of the crime of the president. He didn't resign in the power. They will create the situation to stay, to call the international to come to the military force to help to stay, to control the power. Look, the situation we have in Haiti now is a situation we can resolve by the police. The police only need the intelligence people who can infiltrate in the group and to give the information. They need means to vehicle weapons or whatever they want. For example, the ex-president of Jovenel Moïse started with a small army. We have some militaries in Haiti. I remember one of general said he needs only 2 helicopters and 2 vehicle dash, I don't know how to say that in English. So just he wanted to resolve the problem. The situation is maintained in Haiti by the government. The government is the main responsible of the situation in Haiti. If you want to resolve this problem in Haiti, is Ariel and other ministers. They are the responsible of the situation. They wanted to stay to the power and the class economic also. They killed the president just to do that. What we will see now. They say the president wasn't good, but they created the situation to stay in the power. They are fighting with Jovenel Moïse to get the power. For Jovenel Moïse was open to them to give them the power also. They doesn't want, they just kill him to create the situation we have now in Haiti. So I was so happy to share my experience with you because, for example, the last year I was with the gangs also. I was so scared. I was in the humanitarian mission. I heard the gang when they are talking. I know what they are living. For example, when I saw in the condition the people was living, you can imagine it's worse than any animals. I could not take any picture to show to anyone. This is unhuman, you know. This something so crazy, but I can't speak too much about it. Thank you, Nixon Boumba. So I just want to add this point in your speech. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I think the only thing I would add is, for the UN and international communities, Haiti is a joke for them. It's a joke. Lives of Haitian people doesn't matter for them. If just imagine what's happened in the country. The president was killed in the condition he was killed. And then the only thing is like put their own people in the power. I will, I am really want to continue this conversation with the COPE, and if we want to talk about currently what's happening in Haiti. And now the narrative want that people know whole Haiti is under the control of the gang. It is not true. If you're coming to the north of Haiti, you can go out from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. enjoying live music, restaurant, having conversation with your friend. All the country is the same. Port-au-Prince, why Port-au-Prince? Port-au-Prince is the heart of the country, very concentrated, very centralized country, and they cut Port-au-Prince to the west of the country. That has a lot of impact of the cost of living and access to basic needs. And even in Port-au-Prince, people trying to recreate, to invent life on the daily basis, as a way to resist, but as a way to survive. But when people are talking about Haiti, when I'm talking about advocacy to go to White House or to Capitol and to talk about Haiti, I don't know. I can see the lack of dignity because they don't consider Haitian people as as a human being. Our life does not matter for them. I'm tired about advocacy with people who are the main creator of what we are living in the country. Our criminal, it is not from the gang, poorest young men we know. These poorest young men, they are victims of excluded society. They are victims of international interference in the country, and they are victims of the exploitative economy and the domination by Haitian elite in the country. If we want to support as a faith base, I know the Catholic Church played in the past a very great role in supporting the voice of sins without voice, the voice of people who didn't have any voice in the country. Because the Catholic have the main implantation in the country because they are everywhere. They are everywhere. Unfortunately, they become in Haiti more conservative than, more pro-justice or pro life of people. That should be something you need to understand. The story of the daily based life of Haitian people, what my brother just said. And if you come to Haiti, you can understand why those young people after finishing their high school, they don't have any way to move forward. They don't have a job. They can go to school to have a profession to help their families. The only work they provide is corrupted oligarch, and with the support of international community, give access to heavy weapons, to continue to rape, to rob people, and to survive. They are part of the victim of this society. They are part of the victim of the legacy of colonialism. They are part of destruction of this country. They are so young. They are so young. They have so a lot of imagination. They could live another ways. This is what you need to understand. If the advocacy should be an intellectual and very refined thinking without any story of people, story of ordinary people. And now we are living in worse impact of climate disorder without access to water, to food, and just consider what's happened alongside of Haitian and Dominican border since the canal situation. This is where I'm calling you, to understand the voice of the human being. And if you want support Haitian people, and we need to stand up with Haitian people. And now I share that with Kadi and Anna Marie about not only the ransom, the need for the wasted Haitian to be restituted and repaired, and to restore our dignity from the money that was stolen by France, from the money that was stolen by the US, and also from all impact that the extractive economy has in our daily life today. We are fighting for our land, to have access to water. We are fighting for prevent our economy and territory against mining and mega project who will not be useful for Haitian people, but continue to use Haitian territory as a way to accumulate and deposit Haitian from what they have. This is where the poverty is from. This is the impoverishment process is there. It is not in the way that understand that after the earthquake, William Bill Clinton apologized for what he did to Haiti. It is not enough to apologize to continue to do the same thing you used to do. The UN brought cholera in Haiti. More than 10,000 people died. The UN left in Haiti so many children without parents, without fathers, and in the hand of the woman for monoparental situation. And those people, can you imagine what they can become tomorrow? And this is, for me, the story is more important than, sending Kenyan troops will continue to do the same thing that UN soldiers did in the past. Because this is the logic of power. It's a colonial mindset. Within the colonial mindset, we replicate the same result.
Thank you so much for sharing your real depth of knowledge and your wisdom with us. We're so grateful to have you here today. To wrap us up, I'm going to hand everything over to Anne-Marie.
Yeah, there's a lot to take in today, and thank you so much for being here. And I'm sure it will continue to inform our advocacy here at the UN to try to bring voices of Haitian people and what they're experiencing there. Still don't have answers for the violence. We totally understand the story of what this is for youth, to have no other options and to get caught up in this, and all the forces that create that have contributed to that. So you leave us with a lot to think about, and we will continue to bring Haitian voices to everyone that we can speak with at the UN. Especially, we found very much the people from the Human Rights Division, especially understanding this and hearing this from people, and we will continue to do our best. We do have the representative for human rights from the UN, who is we know well, had worked closely with, and are anxious to hear about his latest visit too. And we will continue to, like I said, bring the voices of people and the dignity of the Haitian people, to everyone we speak with. And we thank you for rounding out, giving us much more of the narrative and understanding of people there. So we are a group of, we are a group from the Justice Coalition of Religious. There are about 6 of us: Dominican, Sisters of St. Joseph, Sisters of Charity St. Elizabeth, Oblates of Mary Immaculate, Claretians, Passionists, and we all have been regularly working closely with our JCOR coordinators to advocate the best we can. So we'll keep in touch with you, definitely, Boumba, and to hear more. And we thank you so much for the richness of what you brought today. So thank you.
It was my pleasure to talk to you, and I'm here. If you need to have more session about that, if you have more specific question, I will try to do the best to address. If I can't, I can refer you to other person to do that. That should be very important to keep in touch with Haitian people to understand this situation
Yes.
from the base.
Thank you to everyone for joining us today. We will be posting the recording on our website, so you can refer back to it and share it with others who weren't able to be here with us today. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks, Teresa.